I'm Dave Bentley. This is my micro teaching lesson, and we're going to be talking about adverbs and how I would teach that in a class of upper elementary to middle school students. I have my family has joined me today. They're going to be my guinea pigs, and so glad to have them with us as well. The purpose of the lesson is to demonstrate how adverbs and adjectives add color, depth, and meaning to writing and written and verbal communication. We would do this a number of different ways. I've got a story or two that I would be reading and incorporating into that, some children's books, as well as a story that I've written specifically for this purpose. And so we're going to walk through the three major steps of what we would do. First is, before the actual lesson began, to activate prior knowledge, I would say, to get things started, adverbs are words that add information to verbs. It tells us something about the verb, the action that is taking place. So I would have them list as many adverbs as they could think of. So we'll do that. List out just out loud how many adverbs you can think of. Things that tell us how, when, or where, or why we're doing something.
Quickly.
Increasingly.
Slowly. Keep going. Fast. Kindly. Now, did you notice that the majority of those ended with what two letters?
L-Y.
L-Y. That is one of the quick ways of knowing whether something is an adverb or not. Generally, adverbs end in L-Y, particularly when they're telling us how we are doing something. I want you to do something for me, and don't be embarrassed, but I want you to sing with me. Row, row, row your boat. Ready?
Row, row, row your boat
gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Now, how were you rowing your boat? Gently. That's one.
Merrily.
Merrily is two, but there's a third.
Merrily.
The other adverb, it wouldn't be merrily again, although that is true, is down. Down was also how you were rowing. You were rowing your boat gently down the stream. See, adverbs don't just tell us how we're doing something. It also tells us what direction we're going in as we're doing that thing, why we're doing it as well. I don't really know why we were rowing our boats down the stream, but we were doing them gently down the stream and merrily as we went. What other songs can you think of, or other times when you might use an adverb or an adjective even? These are words that are known as modifiers. When might you use one?
When you want to describe how somebody's doing something.
When you want to describe how someone is doing something. Excellent. At this point, we move into the actual lesson, kind of stepping into that. And we would use an old Schoolhouse Rock video that was something that I grew up, we used to have on Saturday mornings during real Saturday morning cartoons, that talks about Lolly's store of adverbs. And I would show that from YouTube. Great video. And then we would talk about the words that we wanted to find. And the word is adverb. We would define that as a class and talk about what that really is. And then the word, an adverb, like an adjective, is a modifier. And so we would say, what is a modifier? What does it mean to modify something? What does it mean to modify something? To change it. My father-in-law, who's an avid race car fan, I told you we were going to see modifieds. What would that mean?
Non-stock.
They're not stock. The cars come off the line a certain way, but modified means that it's changed. And a verb comes a certain way, but a modifier, like an adverb, or nouns if we use adjectives, modifies it, changes it, it adds something to it. That said, we would read at that point a couple of books by Cleary, either, listen to the titles, they are Dearly, Nearly, Insincerely, or Lazily, Crazily, Just a Bit Nasally, which are a couple of books that they're written probably for a younger audience, but older audiences would appreciate them as well. And it's loaded with information about what adverbs are. And we would do a graphic organizer activity, which is included in the lesson plan. Moving on into the lesson, really getting a little bit deeper with it, I have a story that I've written, and I'm going to ask one of my volunteers to read it out loud. Make sure you face the camera.
Do I read the
You don't have to read the
title?
characters. You read the title and then the stories.
Herb the Verb by Dave Bentley. Herb is a verb. Herb is always busy doing something or going somewhere. Even when Herb is sitting down, he is still doing something. That is just how verbs are. They are always in action. Today, Herb is feeling annoyed. Herb is annoyed with 3 friends. Herb is thinking that his friends have become very bossy. His friends are Wendy Where, Howie How, and Benny When. Herb is a verb and these friends are adverbs. It seems to Herb that they always want to tell him how, when, and where to do what he is doing. Herb wants to do things himself without the help of his adverb friends. However, when he tries, they just seem to interfere. When Herb decides to run, Howie yells, "Quickly!" If Herb wants to whisper, Howie adds, "Quietly." If Herb decides to scream and throw a temper tantrum, like he is feeling right now, Howie butts in with angrily, loudly, and wildly. Wendy does the same thing by telling Herb where to do what he wants to do. When Herb puts the book down, she says, "There." If Herb wants to walk in the yard, she adds, "Outside." If Herb wants to throw a chair like he's feeling right now, she would still tell him where he could throw it. Then there's Benny. He will dictate when Herb can do what he is going to do. Talk, now. Rest, later. Yell, never. Herb became extremely angry and walked out the door to get away right now from their interruptions. He needed quiet to be able to make decisions to do something, anything, without being told how, when, or where. He looked to see if he was being followed, and he sighed a relieved sigh. Alone, he could be in control of what he chose to do, so this is what he did. Herb walked, Herb ran, Herb stopped, Herb sat, Herb looked, Herb listened, Herb thought, Herb wondered, Herb yawned, Herb got bored, Herb decided. He decided that he missed Howie, Wendy, and Benny. He realized that they were not being bossy. They were just telling Herb just how, when, or where to do things. They helped make Herb a lot more interesting and a better verb. Herb realized that he needed and wanted his friends with him, so Herb returned. He got up instantly, and he ran quickly and dashed into the room where he tightly hugged his friends. Herb, the verb, knew now that he needed his friends. Just as Herb stopped hugging his friends, Wyatt Y came to join the celebration. Herb just smiled happily.
And so we move through that, from that to talking about how did it sound when there weren't adverbs involved. When we talked about Herb when he took off, what did you think when we ran through those string of things that Herb was doing without describing how he was doing? What did you think of? How did that feel to you?
Like a Dick and Jane story?
Okay, so very, very empty. Any other thoughts on that?
Clipped.
Very fast, short.
Yeah.
Two words, in fact, in every sentence. Who it was, what he was doing, and that was it.
Yeah.
Did you feel like something was missing then?
Yes.
Yeah. So did you like it better when we described how he was doing the things?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. The next part of our exercise would be to write a short story, and we would do it 2 times. We would write a story that included no adverbs, talking about maybe a family vacation or some other prompt, and we would share that with a friend. And then we would write one, the same story, but we would also then start including adjectives and adverbs, modifiers, to dress the story up and to give it some more depth. That would go on for the remainder of that class, and then after the lesson, moving on to the next thing, we would talk about some of the high points of the lesson. Talk about, again, reviewing what adverbs do. Tell us how we're doing something, where we're doing something, when we're doing something, and why we're doing something. And then moving into that to what the homework would be. And we would talk about music, because music is filled with adverbs and adjectives that describe what we're doing or what we're seeing. And I would ask the kids that day for about half an hour or so to listen to 4 or 5 songs, pick out several adverbs or adjectives that they hear in those songs, and put those things down, write them down, and then the next day, together in small groups, we would create our own songs that we would place out on the hallway for people to see, so we would actually publish these things for an audience. And so that's sort of how I would address the beginning steps of introducing adverbs and adjectives in writing for upper elementary and middle school students. Have a great day.